Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Well, we know that entrepreneurship isn't a walk in the park for anyone, and it can be quite challenging for women. Now, even with all the advancements that women have made in the world of business, it looks like there's still a long way to go before the success rate between male and female entrepreneurs can reach a certain appreciable level. So how can promoting female entrepreneurship improve economic growth and development here in Nigeria? Are there enough initiatives and funds to empower and support female entrepreneurs to contribute to the country's GDP? Well, to look at this and other issues affecting women entrepreneurs in Nigeria, I'm being joined on the program by an entrepreneur, Mrs. Fayo Williams. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
It's great to be here, Harriet.
Well, let's just start. As an entrepreneur, what has it been like?
It's been a potpourri, really. It's like a blend of excitement, of being able to achieve your mission, being able to achieve great things. But on the downside, it can be challenging, especially when we look at the infrastructure. Everybody knows, how much we have to spend on power generation and all that. And then you look at the human resources, you look at the society, sometimes you have these restrictions, you have cultural barriers, which you have to overcome. So like I said, it's been a blend. We've done some exciting things. I've met some exciting people by being an entrepreneur, by offering a safety product. I've met people like Femi Kuti, very unlikely, that I would bump into him on a street. But because of my product, I've met him. I've met Mrs. Onari Duke, so it can be exciting.
So apart from the challenges that you've just
Yes.
mentioned, you spoke about infrastructural challenges and
Yes.
cultural and societal challenges. What other challenges are actually peculiar or have faced women entrepreneurs here in Nigeria?
Work-life balance challenges, for instance, because a woman is a nurturer. She has several roles to play, not just being an entrepreneur. She's a mother, she's a sister, she's a confidant, a friend, and sometimes these roles conflict. But on the business front, I would like to use an example of one of the immediate past president of NECA's network of entrepreneurial women, which I belong to. She went up to a bank, she asked for a particular sum of money, and she just got a look. Somebody looked her, right from her head to her toe and said, "Why don't you get your husband to give you that?" And she came out to say, "I have never felt so insulted in my life. Because if that could happen, I wouldn't be here." I mean, you don't look at a man and say, "Why doesn't your wife give you that amount of money?" So the question is, why should this kind of attitude, be visited on the women folk? If the business idea is good, the cash flow looks positive and promising, and the business plan is in place, then a female entrepreneur should be able to promote her business and get the appropriate funding without being looked down, on and told, some kind of discouraging remarks.
Could that be responsible for the high mortality rate of women businesses actually falling? Because we know that about 50% of small businesses fail before their 3 years. What do you think is actually responsible for that, apart from what you've just mentioned?
In fact, I would probably up that percentage a little to about 80. The mortality rate is quite high, and some of the other factors include poor planning. For instance, hardly most entrepreneurs, they don't really sit down to get that business plan in place. If I could look at my example, when I started 20 years ago, I know I administered a questionnaire to find out if my product, I was going to go out and make first aid boxes like for the first time in Nigeria, and I took a questionnaire round. Do you use this in your environment? What quantity do you use? How frequently do you buy? And that kind of thing. So right now, people know that they need to prepare a business plan. Secondly, market access. We need better opportunities. I'm sitting here today, my beads are made by a Nigerian. My shoes are made by a Nigerian. But can we say this, of every other person out there? Do you go out of your way to buy made in Nigeria products proudly? And we need the government to lead the way, such that when we have major events in this country, right from the decor to the drinks to the food, everything, should be by SMEs, by Nigerian companies. You know, the corporations will be feeling left out, so I guess by Nigerian companies generally. So once again, the planning, the access to finance, the marketing plan, and then the business idea itself. We need to encourage people to pass their business ideas through a SWOT analysis, to do a proper analysis to know if this business idea will fly. If it's going to fly, how many customers do I have? How big is the cup? These are questions that must be answered before anybody goes into business.
Well, are there enough initiatives to actually encourage women entrepreneurs? Because we know that there's been so much talk, the Central Bank of Nigeria has actually released some funds to encourage small and medium-scale enterprises, and about 60% of that fund is actually supposed to be going to women. So, apart from this, how much of these initiatives have actually encouraged, you know, being put into the market there to encourage women entrepreneurs?
I'll say a little, and one of the ones I would really like to commend is the UWIN program. The UWIN program has been transparent. I have seen beneficiaries. I've been privileged to be a panelist. I've looked through the process. The process has been a very transparent one, and the funds have actually gotten into the hands of women. It's been done twice. Last year, it was like an all-comers affair at first, both the men and the women. And because of the small percentage of women, the previous, the current batch now, it was really just for women only. And that has helped schools, people into agriculture, people into all kinds of business, the women into various endeavors. This money has reached their hand. That is a big, big plus, because many a times you just see things on newspapers and it doesn't trickle down. But I'd quickly like to say that today, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Fund of about 200 billion is supposed to be launched by the CBN. That is another good initiative. But I would like to say, can we have all stakeholders being involved in deciding how these funds will be accessed? We need an acceptable financial, a financing model for SMEs. For instance, what is the money going to be used for? If you go to a bank of industry, for example, they have a mandate to encourage manufacturing. But some of us may need working capital. Some of us may need LPO financing. So we need to actually encourage everyone with their different needs. Secondly, what is the interest rate? The last time I was offered a non-collateralized loan, I was offered at 30%. And I couldn't smile, just like you're doing now.
Because you were collecting that loan without collateral.
And I didn't take it because it was too expensive. It was too expensive for me. I couldn't take it. So I am looking at a below 10% interest rate. I am looking at having the collateral being a personal guarantee, a business membership organization kind of guarantee. We have the organized private sector. We have small and medium enterprises in identified groups. And these groups can be approached. They can tell you if their members are regulars and if their members would have that integrity to pay back the money. And don't forget, women always pay back the money.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's been found out.
Well, I actually understand that some women don't particularly know. Okay, let me ask this question.
Okay, I'm listening.
How many women are aware of all of these initiatives?
Very few women, I must tell you.
And why is that?
Because the communication has not been appropriate. You need to look at the message. You need to look at the medium. Who is the sender? Who is the receiver? We haven't gotten this matrix right. Just publishing something in some newspapers or some highbrow TV stations like we're on now, that's not the only way. We need to shout it from the rooftops. The town criers, we need to get into the trade associations. If we have an association for the hairdressers, the fashion design people, we need to get to various, even the transportation, the unions and so on. We need to trickle down this information in a way that it's not seen as a national cake. in a way that it is seen as something that must revolve so that more people can gain access. And we need the success stories published. I would particularly like to see some of the documentaries on the UN program being aired so that other women are encouraged, because there's a lot of cynicism and skepticism and people saying, Bo, tell me another story, Joe.
So we shouldn't be focusing more on the urban. We should also look at the rural areas.
We must look at the rural areas. I was privileged to visit Angola under the invitation of FEMIA. It's a foremost women's association. You had some of the international agencies actually putting money in the banks as guarantee, for on-lending to the women, and this is working. Now, the interesting thing about FEMIA is that it has branches in virtually all the regions and the rural areas, and we actually went visiting. We went very close to the border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we saw these women dancing and welcoming their urban counterparts. I would actually like a platform to do more of that in Nigeria, because the Nigerian woman is a hard-working woman. She's a woman who hasn't seen much opportunity. She's a woman who can multitask, highly organized, and who is very, very mature and has a lot on her plate. And she needs a hand up, not a hand out.
Well, do you think that women groups, especially at the national level, maybe lay too much emphasis on positions rather than other fundamental gender issues?
This is a trick question. Then I wouldn't be caught in this, because you never know where you can get to one day, and you don't want to be quoted. But I would say that more can be done for our women who were out there, right from the wife of the president. She's gone round, she's done quite a lot for women in terms of reaching out to the grassroots. I must tell you, I'm totally apolitical, please. Totally apolitical. I just look at, the initiatives, how they have reached out. But I think we need to begin to set for ourselves key performance indices. How many women have been reached? How many of them have accessed funds? How many have been trained? Capacity building is there. Vocational training is there. But how many of these women have turned this around to start a business? How many people are they employing, And these are all factors and indicators we need to ask the people in government about. It's not so much as just talking, but what are the results? I believe in putting forward the results, publishing them, and let us know where we're going.
How is this who's going to be helping? Because you see, a lot of times we've had issues where some numbers don't tally up.
Yeah, they don't.
So how will women, or how can women, help ensuring that these numbers actually tally? Because it's when they have the correct numbers that they can actually know what kind of initiatives to roll out, what kind of funds should be given to women, and what forms of support and encouragement should be going to them.
I think one way is to involve them right from the decision-making stage. We have several women groups. We have the Neckers Network of Entrepreneurial Women. We have WIMBIZ. We have women in technology. For instance, that is a sore point for me, because many women, some even don't even have an email address, and we're in the 21st century. Some feel they're too old. I'm still learning what to do on LinkedIn, what to do on, and I'm happy to learn these things. So we need to start changing their mindset. So like I said, we need to involve the women's groups, even up to the market women's associations. Yes, they need this empowerment as well, and once we involve them, they start bringing out their ideas. Now, the policies would not be published, and then we turn around to complain later. That is putting the cart before the horse. If we have the women on board to actually breathe into these policies, then those policies will become more appropriate, and the results will be better, and the economy will develop faster. Remember, when you empower a woman, you are empowering the home, you are empowering the child, you are opening up opportunities for education, for healthcare, for insurance, for so many things. And we don't seem to see this. So I would be an advocate for gender mainstreaming, which means both of us need to work together. Right now, 49% of the population in Nigeria is being put in the cooler. And that's not good enough. How do we hope to become, to achieve that vision 2020? If we are putting aside 49% of us.
Well, 49% of, let's say, of that number,
yes,
how many are actually computer literate? Because you see, we're in the technological age, and we have to move with the times. Now, if, for instance, women are not encouraged to be technology savvy, then there is really no way you can get your information out to people.
You're
now,
right.
what are women entrepreneurs such as yourself doing to encourage younger or female entrepreneurs who don't really have any idea of using technology to promote their business? Because you see, not everybody, everybody is now using technologies, smartphones and iPads and iPhones and all the rest of it. So how can they be encouraged, not necessarily use an iPad probably, but a smartphone to be able to
even
transact their business?
A computer. You don't even have to own it. It can be right there in a resource center. For instance, our organization, NECA's Network of Entrepreneurial Women, we first look at the spread. We're now in Lagos, we're in Abuja, and